The art of fatherhood. How to interpret some of our own bias. Expect any influence that you have to invite criticism. And of course, everyone is a critic, either inside their own mind, to your face, or behind your back. Progress requires that you have to be ever ready to take the rough with the smooth. Life as art is all biographical analysis. We are often blindsided by reality. We don't always see what is actually here or there. The end is usually visible at or near the beginning. But we get blinded at the start by the focus on positivity and the lack of attention to the finer details. What is good is obvious. What needs improvement within ourselves, we tend to mask for fear of shame. It's a confidence thing. We are works in progress, never complete. After the fact, people will ask you if you saw the warning signs, if you remember anything unusual, to which the response will always be that if you had seen the signs, then you would have avoided the problem. But the trouble is that you didn't even know how to read the signs. They were in a foreign language. You will always think that you know what you are doing, but that is just the ego reassuring you of the correctness of your own path. Your ego remains the part of your personality that won't let you go, while your conscious remains the part of your personality that won't let you be. These are the limitations of your playing field. How we frame life limits what we can see. When you know what to look for, then life becomes easier. The trouble is that you don't know shit until you get to practice a couple of times, until you get a feel for the weight and severity of the situation. Little action will ever take place. Life without practical knowledge, based on practical experiences, is just a lot of fumbling around in the dark. Lights out and sunglasses on. The mistakes we make are predicated more on our inabilities than our abilities. We always have to factor into everything that there is more that we don't know than what we do know. We have to factor in that we are ignorant, almost to the point of our present understanding being only historically relevant, or just plain insignificant. We must learn to become familiar with the unfamiliar, and that often means unlearning, or revisiting what we once knew but forgot. It is not love that is blindness, as much as wishful thinking causes us to ignore the bleeding obvious. Like it or not, we are full of bias that leads to error. So let's explore a little more. The bias of the anchoring effect. All deals are related to our first understanding of where we are and who we can trust, and what is actually possible. What you understand is always based on the very first judgment that you make. The possible and the impossible are often just time-separated perspectives. Frequent updates to the story must modify our interpretation and impression. The average TV series may use an entire season to sow doubt about the virtuous nature of a character, dropping hints on a weekly basis until the mind of the viewer has shifted to the only possible logical conclusion, based of course on the data that they have been fed. This is no accident, and everything has been carefully calculated in advance. Bad becomes not so bad when bad is placed alongside terrible. Good appears as average when placed next to excellent. And we are often set up. The bias of the availability effect. People often overestimate the effect of what they know and what they are able to achieve. This does not mean that everybody believes in themselves too much. It just means that we are one piece in the puzzle of life, and there are tens of thousands of pieces surrounding us. With or without us, life carries on. You may value your opinion, and you may be right. But how much does that matter if others do not value your opinion, if they believe you are wrong, and if they are not prepared to pitch in and help out? The context matters. However many swords you have, a gun is usually more effectively powerful. Household objects are as likely to cause your death as international terrorists are. You are more likely to be hurt or even killed by somebody you know, rather than somebody you don't know. Vicinity, proximity, and availability matter more than far-off inconsequentials and irrelevances. Look at specific trends. Most dangers are inflated. The bias of the bandwagon effect. Everybody wants to go where the people go. Everybody wants to be a part of the winning team. The majority of the people don't want to strike out on their own because they know that this will be frowned upon. Nails are knocked down simply because they stand up. Science is never settled. That is how science works. We revise and update our ideas as new evidence presents itself. This is the nature of an educated mind. You must be able to change direction where necessary. An unflinching belief with no moral basis is as dangerous as any external threat. In relationships, people will often do what they feel is right rather than what they know is right. This has the potential to cause much chaos, as feelings can be easily manipulated. Songs and news can affect our mood as much as food and friends. We have to remain aware of the ever-present danger that the group presents. when it erases the ideas of the individual. Some people get lost amongst their personal relationships. They pour in, but they forget to measure out. Recognize absolutely any disparity between the word and the deed. Listening is only learning when we are able to understand who is going to execute on their promises. And if you can't keep the big promises, then you will never keep the small ones. Those who present you with inaccuracies never respect you. They know already your ability to judge well is skewed and off-center. Yet remember, self-centered is not selfish when you are carefully balanced. You open yourself to the possibility of misuse and abuse when you are unable to recognize the bias in the world around you. We misjudge the gradient and the lean all the time. We must know how to readjust. There is no such thing as impartial. There should be, but there is not. It is an implausible state. Perfect is unattainable. Therefore, progress is enough. But we still need to parse the data, sift the wreckage, and look for signs. We need to train our awareness. If you can, learn the valuable lessons. Know the difference between aggressive and assertive. Seek an understanding of the benefits of constant persistence and active resistance. A mistake is different from a lie. A challenge may border on insanity. Knowing what is best for everyone is an illusory state. The arbiter of truth has more responsibilities than rights. And so on it goes. Life is often a chase, a countdown, a race. The clock is always ticking. No matter how fast you go, you will always run out of time. And some words don't rhyme. For this reason, maybe slow and steady is the best way to stay ready. When you catch up with yourself and come to terms with who you are, we still are only able to see a small part of a very large canvas. Life is brush strokes that leave broad impressions. Pay attention to the time and space and the effect therein of all the internal and external pressures. As a final thought, perhaps consider how the subject's relationship to the painter is different from the painter's relationship to the subject, although they are all parts of the same process. The art of fatherhood.